Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I will be sharing with you what I believe is the most important price data you need to see this month. Now, before I get started, I want to make it clear, I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing that you see in this video is financial advice. So always make sure to do your own independent research. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get straight into it. Now, the market, as you've noticed, has been pretty flat since August. However, we're starting to see price move to the upside. Now, in my previous video, I said that this would happen. Why? Because we're expecting a rally going into the Fed interest rate decision that we have on September the 17th. Now, on that piece of data that will be released on that date, this is going to be the Fed interest rate decision. Now, without confusing you guys, some of you are probably wondering, what on earth are you talking about? Essentially, whenever the Fed cuts interest rates, stocks, assets like the crypto market typically go to the upside. So they go completely parabolic. Typically, when the Fed interest rate is increased, stocks, assets like crypto typically go down. So as it's predicted that the Fed will cut interest rates, we should now start to see that parabolic breakout in the market we've all been waiting for. But the question is, do we see a rally leading into the event and then a potential sell-off afterwards, which is a buy the rumor, sell the news event? Or do we see price go up leading up to the event, maybe a small pullback, and then more parabolic momentum for the rest of the month? Now, this is what essentially we need to figure out. And anybody talking about any other data point apart from that Fed interest rate decision, unfortunately, hasn't spent long enough in this market and doesn't understand that pretty much all coins are correlated, and majority of the markets like stocks to crypto to commodities, they're all correlated in some way. Now, we predict we'll see a rally. As you can see, we've got these nice red markings on our chart. Now, we think we will see a rally. Now, the question is, how high do we climb from here? This is the most important thing to begin with. How high could we see price go from here? Because ultimately, if this is officially the bottom, right? So let's just assume we're going to see a rally. And again, if you missed out on some of these free buy calls I've been giving out on Zebec, it means you're not subscribed to the channel. So make sure you subscribe so you do not miss out on another Zebec update. You can see these green markings here. Now, if we are going to see the breakout, the first target I mentioned before is this area here at 0.0076. 325, right? I'm not going to go over the price prediction in this video. I'm going to focus on technical analysis. If you want access to that after this video, watch the previous one where I give my Zebec end of September price prediction, right? Based on the data that we have in front of us. Now, if we do see a parabolic move, I do think Zebec will outperform, right? So if we see a rally leading into the Fed interest rate decision, then I think Zebec will likely outperform. I do think we could see Zebec, go above its May highs, and if that happens, that it's an 82 percentage point move. Now let's just say we top out again. I'm going to be completely realistic here. Let's just say we see price rally up to 0.0100348, right? Which is a modest move considering we are anticipating the entire market to go parabolic. Now this is where things get interesting, right? So remember, first initial move 138%. And then remember, this is based on the thesis that we see an upside move leading into the 17th of September. Now, if that's the case, there's two things that can happen at this area. Number one, after the Fed interest rate decision, let's assume they cut rates, which is 95% predicted, we could see a further aggressive upside move. Now, from where we currently are now, that could drive Zebec up, another 80 or 100% from where we currently are now. And to be clear, from our first initial entry point now, that would be from where we currently are now. Let's just make sure we have this as accurate as possible. That would be a total upside move from where we currently are now of 387%, which is absolutely incredible. And as you would note, that basically does align with my end of September price predictions for Zebec, which is fantastic. But of course, once we do see this move, Do we then see the anticipated sell-off once the dust settles? I think that will be the case. So to be clear, if we do see an extended pump leading up to the Fed interest rate decision and also afterwards as well, I do think that the second pump will be a short-lived one and we will see price pull back to some of these target areas, right? Now, that's the first scenario. That's assuming essentially we see a pump on pump, right? So pump leading into the Fed interest rate decision and also an upside move once the data has been released, right? So those are two upside moves. The pullbacks are just natural parts of the market, so we're not going to fixate on that for now. We're just going to talk about scenarios that could occur leading up to that Fed interest rate decision, right? So that's the first scenario that could occur. I'm going to delete all these marking just so it doesn't get confusing for you guys. So we'll delete that. And again, that's upwards of a 300 percentage point move. Now, the second scenario that we have, and some could say that it is more likely, but we'll see what happens by the end of the week. So I just want to say to all of you, make sure that if you're still watching this, make sure you join my free Telegram group right this second. The link is in my description. This is where we're going to dive deeper on Zebec and also the events that will be transpiring over the next few weeks. So if you want to know what I'll be doing, you want to know my market outlook, join my free Telegram group right this second. The link is in my description. Make sure you have the Telegram app downloaded, otherwise the link will not work. Now let's continue. Now, the second scenario, some could argue this is what's more likely to happen, right? Where we essentially see price just continue to range, right? So we might see an upside move, but then price falls back and essentially stagnates up until that Fed interest rate decision, right? Which is not ideal, but that's a scenario that could occur, essentially sideways price movement. And then guess what happens? On the event, we see that pump, right? We see that upside move. So that means boring price action. And then we see almost a straight line move. Are we going to see a 400% upside move on Zebec? Probably not in a straight line. I don't think that happens in a straight line. We're currently at $380 million market cap from where we currently are now. I actually think the max we will see straight line move, to be honest with you, I would have to say about 190, 177 to about 200% move, which means, again, still near our predicted end of year price targets. Sorry, not end of year, end of September price targets. But again, scenario 2 of our price target is likely to be hit where we pull back close to this area. But anyway, we're not going to get into that. So that will be, again, 100, 180, 170 to 200% move. And then we could see price start to pull back afterwards, right? And again, once again, to be clear for all of you, the first scenario is obviously the most ideal. The second scenario is just more of the same. If you've been entering at the lows, the good news is it's not like you're suffering a big drawdown or anything like that. But at the same time, you do have to wait for that first initial pump, and then I think most people are more likely to lose money on this scenario, because what happens when the market goes up is they just assume, okay, 200% move, we must go up further, but then the market corrects itself. People get impatient, leave the market, and then what happens a week or so after, the market continues to the upside, right? So that's scenario 2. Now, the last scenario that could occur, which is a very, I would say, not very likely from my personal analysis, but I do have to outline it. And this would be the sell-off, right? So price maybe goes lower from where we currently are now. So we potentially see price go down to 0.00227774, right? Which from where we currently are now would be, I think, about, let's see, a 20% move. Wow, more deeper than that. 53%. I don't think we're going to see a move that deep. Let's say about 30%, which would be 0.00286668. Let's just say 20 to 30% downside move. And then after that Fed interest rate decision, parabolic upside move. But I'm not expecting that scenario to play out. I don't think we're going to see an aggressive sell-off. In fact, I would probably, if I had to remix that scenario, I would say more of scenario 2. So for example, price starts to go up, then it flatlines leading up to the event. We could see a slight sell-off on the event and then parabolic move. I think that's more likely than selling off deeply and then rallying, right? Now, what you've just seen in this video is, in my opinion, the only price action that you need. And to clarify, for those of you that are still confused, simple. Scenario one, upside move leading into the 17th, which is the Fed interest rate decision. So price goes up. After the event, and then when the news data is released, we see a further pump, which could lead to, you know, a 360 to 400% upside move in total. Scenario two, price stagnates, then on the data goes up maybe 200% or so. Last scenario is where price basically goes down, and then on the day of the event, price goes up. I think that's the least likely. If we were to remix that, we could see price go up slightly, pull back closer to the event, and then spike or sell off, right? Either one. So those are the scenarios. In my opinion, that's the only piece of technical data you need to focus on, but we'll see what happens. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't yet joined my free Telegram group, make sure you've done so. Thank you guys for watching the full video, and I'm wishing you all the best. It's going to be a very hectic next few weeks. Remember, every single Zebec token matters. So you need to make sure you get this right so you don't screw this up. But anyway, guys, that's it for now. Until next update, seize the day.